It was mentioned earlier that if we're going to do the cameras or the landscape waste dumpster, we'd look at that line item. City manager, please clarify, if we pass the budget and it's in there, then there's no looking at it unless we attach either a caveat that it has to come back, or should we just not budget it and then...
Yeah, let's just take it out. Just take it out as a line item until we can get back some better clarification and bring it back then to the council so that we have very detailed information as far as how many cameras, what's going to be happening. I think it would just help us on our bottom line.
In light of the fact that I believe we extended the waste management contract for 60 days, that's coming up sometime in, 30 days, I don't think it's appropriate to assume we're going to even have landscape dumpsters. So if we pull it out, where's that money going to go? Can that go to the Human Services? Maybe down the road if we decide?
That money's coming from the refuse fund, designed to be used for refuse-type purposes. You have two choices. You can not provide for that expenditure in this coming fiscal year's budget, or you can set aside the money in this fiscal year's budget and make a decision on whether or not to spend it when we bring back to you the purchase request for the cameras and the installation.
But that would have to come forward as a purchase request. I mean, we're not voting on cameras tonight, are we, Mr.
You're not voting on cameras tonight. You're voting for the money, but you're not. You can always make a decision not to spend that money.
Right. I would hope so.
Let's pull the money out so it takes an extra effort to even get it through. How would I word it?
Do you want to bring that into a motion? That we
pull out the landscape waste money past the current extension and pull out the cameras until such further date after we've negotiated the next landscape refuse contract.
Second.
Did you get that, Mr. Clerk?
Well, it's an amendment.
What date is
He's making an amendment to remove the landscape waste camera purchase. Was there anything else to that, Mr. Baker?
City manager, maybe you know the date that we extended the current waste management contract to?
60 days. So by mid-August, we'll have a...
Okay, until we pass a contract, let's just remove it so that you have to come back. When you negotiate that contract, it could be brought up then. Right?
The contract's adopted?
Yes.
So it's been moved to remove that from...
But we have to have some...
The camera purchase.
Extension into the fiscal year.
Well, you're not, if your motion's success, essentially what you're going to do, if your motion is successful, is move the line item for the $40,000 expense, which right now is coming out of the refuse funds reserve. If you remove that line item expenditure, that money still stays in the refuse fund reserve, and you can discuss at a later date whether or not to spend it for this purpose.
I second that motion. that was much better worded.
Further discussion on that, gentlemen?
Yes.
Mr. Naylor.
I guess I don't understand this one particular item, why we're emphasizing this out of the total budget. I thought it was explained in our budget process, the need, the reason, the rationale at the various locations, and yes, I'm certain there will be an opportunity to re-discuss that, evaluate it when the for discussion, so I don't see why we're pulling this one item out. I myself would like to see us stay in there because I'm aware from the discussion as to the reason why they're being proposed to try and save the city money and fines and costs when those dumpsters are contaminated. They're trying to find the improper users of that municipal service out there. So I would suggest we vote the amendment down and leave it in the budget as is and discuss it at the appropriate time.
Mr. Gallagher?
I think, Alderman Naylor, I think it's an important time right now to potentially catch some of these things that might go through a budget on this situation. And I think that given the circumstances that we do not have a contract with Waste Management at this particular time, it might be in our best interest as a city to pull this $40,000 out and potentially discuss that with Waste Management or another provider if they can potentially give that back to the city, and maybe we can get those dollars back. For right now, it'll just simply be some dollars. It'll just be sitting right there in that refuse date, and probably it'll be a better date after we have some type of refuse contract here for the city.
As I understand it, however, though, I don't believe the $40,000 for cameras would be a part of Waste Management's submittal. Am I incorrect or correct on that? It was going to be an effort by the city staff that would supplement
It
their
could be a
services.
negotiating point.
Or it could be a part
Well,
of it.
we've been negotiating in good faith with Waste Management now for several weeks, if not months. You're asking us to possibly insert something. We're pretty far down that path with Waste Management.
Well, what I'm saying is that we may decide not to do the landscape dumpsters. I don't want to buy the cameras before the contract is ratified.
Then
and
should we
discussed.
eliminate the dollar amount that's in there for the landscape waste dumpsters at this time likewise?
Well, we extended it into the next budget. It doesn't matter.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. We need to move forward here. The motion on the floor is to remove, it's been moved and seconded. Let's do a roll call on that, please, Steve.
Alderman Terazinski,
Yes.
Wogan,
Yes.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Naylor,
No.
Baker,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Okay, that line item has been...
Simpson.
Oh, Mr. Simpson.
Yes.
Sorry about that, Mr. Simpson. Amendment passes. Any other amendments, Mr. Terazinski?